In one of the book by Rabindranath Tagore, he mentioned, "Clouds come floating into my life, no longer to carry rain or as a storm, but to add to colors in my sunset sky." Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Srijan, where aspirations take flight. For those who don't know Srijan, it is an entrepreneurship cell of Acropolis with a student driven body that aims to impart skills as well as act as a catalyst and incubator for entrepreneurial activities. It is to bolster the student towards the entrepreneurial path by imparting a channel of valuable resources, wielding with which they can develop their ideas and convert them into reality. I am Sarthak Parakh, student advisor, student entrepreneurship cell. With this talk series, we aim to provide the newbies with the guiding light, helping them to build an attitude, learn what skills are required in real as well as competitive world, and finally know how Srijan prepares and help in achieving all of it. Live from California, USA, today we have with us Mr. Shreyas Padhye, a perfectionist who has around 4 years of experience as a full stack software engineer and is currently pursuing his master's from Clara University with majors in computer science class of 2020. He belongs to the class of 2016 at Acropolis Institute of Technology and Research, Indore, and his bachelor's is also in computer science engineering. He is passionate about technology and software design and believes in the power of adding values to the community. We, the current leaders at Srijan, have heard a lot of stories about his leadership and would love to know more. Welcome, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarthak. That was some introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Hello to everyone who's joining on YouTube. And I hope this will be worth your time.
So let's begin. So my very first question is like, how are you spending your time in this, a pandemic situation? Are you exploring things? Are you working from home?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, time management is pretty much the same, I would say, because I mean, when you have your eyes on a larger goal, your basically your daily activities are kind of jotted down. So I would say that hasn't changed much. Work from home is sometimes good, sometimes not as good. Depends on the days. So yeah, when you have a release, you kind
Yeah.
of stretch, but that's similar when you're working from campus, right? Yeah, so the work from home situation personally for me has not changed like a lot of things. It gives you some amount of comfort when you're working from home, but then also you need to be productive. And I've tried to set up like a corner from where I work, or like the same position where I sit, and like a proper desk
Yeah.
position, because you don't want to lie on the bed and work. So like on the time management front, that's the only thing that I've tried, so that you can finish your work on time and basically use your remaining time for the stuff that's important to you, like your other priorities. Yeah.
So you are soon going to graduate from Clara University. University. So can you please elaborate your current work and about your graduation at Santa Clara?
Right. Yeah. So, like my current work, I'm a software engineer, right? So, my work is more on algorithm optimization, process optimization. It's working with databases, making sure that everything stays consistent, delivering solutions on the web and mobile, yeah, taking by using the World Wide Web. So that's
Okay.
primarily my role. A master's has been interesting. I mean, it gave me a lot of depth and some different things to explore. I mean, US is a great place to be, of course. A lot of innovative things happening here. So you meet a bunch of great people, and I mean, the kind of people that you spend your time with, that kind of adds value to you. So yeah, I mean, that has really helped. Masters has helped in preparing that depth, and it's very different, right? So more or less in a lot of universities in India, the course is structured for you. You kind of can't cater it to what you want. Whereas if
Yeah.
you see the US universities and the master's scene, it's like you basically structure the course yourself. You decide what you want to study,
Yeah.
how you want
The
your profile.
benefit.
Yeah, so that's like a great thing, because you can actually build your profile exactly the way you want to. I mean, there are some restrictions, of course. There are some courses that the university keeps as standard courses that everyone has to take, but there's a lot of electives. So I think that's one of the biggest selling points for doing masters, right? Of course, depth, network, and that opportunity to explore the profile that you want to build is great. And regarding experience, yes, my role has transitioned more, like over the years, it has transitioned into more system design and architecture design. It's very early on, actually, but yeah, having worked at Gyrix, like it was something that I used to do, and I'm also doing some part of it while I'm here. So, like working on real world solutions and how to actually transfer them into technology and making sure that you can deliver them on scale. So yeah, that's something interesting.
So I think flexibility is one of the major benefit in studying in USA.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So traveling back from where you started, that is your journey at Acropolis. So like, how has been your college life at Acropolis?
Oh, it was incredible, man. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing, to be honest. It was such a wonderful experience. It was a good mix of a lot of things. I learned a great bunch of skills, like technical skills, so which I could leverage. It was incredible and had a good mix of technical and leadership experience, owing to E-Cell. So I mean, that was great. Made some very good friends. And yeah, I mean, a good mix of doing well in classes and incredible experience with E-Cell. There was this excellent internship with Gyrix, which I did in my final year, and then eventually also doing some academic projects. So like a lot of things checked out. So it was really good.
Students get the membership, like membership of student in like second years,
Correct.
but in your case you joined in fourth year as a you became the part of student as an organization, and you first became in the picture in EV 2015, that is in your third year, in the end of your third year. So like,
Correct.
why were you so reluctant about joining ESL, and like after so many no's, then what made you to make a single yes?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, it's a very fond memory actually. So the reason that I did not join it early on, right, because I had other priorities. I wanted to work on my tech skills, wanted to work on my academics early on. I mean, that's the kind of approach that I was going with. I'm not saying that that will fit everybody, but yeah, that is where I was coming from. I did not want to change my focus from there. So for the first 2 years, I was more on the academic side. But it was something that was always there, right? Like a lot of my very good friends were involved in it. I was introduced to it by Pratik, who's a very good friend of mine and who was the leader back then, and like he was one of the very first few members who joined it. So like I knew that there are some good bunch of people in there and there's some exciting stuff happening, but I think it was not on my docket until I realized that okay, maybe my tech thing is kind of sorted and I want to explore this. So yeah, and like the yes kind of has a very good story. So I was at an ISOL graduation where Pratik and all of these bunch of guys were graduating. So I did not do ISOL, but I was there just to support them because they were graduating. It was a very good moment, right? So and Atul sir and Anupam ma'am were there. So that was the first time that I talked to them, and we discussed all this, like my situation of why I'm not there, what should I do, and what should be my path going ahead. And Atul sir said like a great thing, which was like in the industry, it's all about people skills, right? The tech
Yeah.
will matter, it will be good, but you will end up working with people, and that is something that he constantly used to
Yeah.
enforce. Correct, and that makes a lot of sense. So it did make sense. So that idea made sense, and also the fact that it's good to try new things. So I wanted to explore and check it out. So that's why I mean I tried to give it a shot.
So on the same note, since you joined in your last semester, so do you feel that you have missed something if you would have joined earlier?
Yeah, no regrets, man, because I mean I took the decision based on what information I had, right? And at
Yeah.
that point of time, if I had to go back in time, I would probably do the same thing, because the work that I did in my first 2 years really mattered to me. It was close to my heart, and I'm glad about it. It was in a very different domain. It was more tech, but that laid a good foundation, which built on to the fact that I could do all this work with Entrepreneurship Cell in the later
Yes.
2 years, because I had that foundation ready. So I was not really worried about it. Yeah.
Okay. So can you please share that the skills that you developed during ESL and your tenure as well, and being the member as well?
Correct. So yeah, again, like a very extensive question, because it's a lot of very good experience bundled into those two
Yeah.
years, first of all, and then to bundle it up in one answer will be difficult. But yeah, I mean, if I had to put it down, I will say it really helps you to go through that process of ideation to execution, right? So when you have something in your
Yes.
mind, how do you execute it on ground? I think that's what it's really about. That's
Yes.
what it comes down to, and that is something that you will do all around. Yeah, right. So if you're thinking about something, any idea, be it entrepreneurial, be it personal productivity, doing something for your family, it comes down to the fact that if you are thinking of something, how well can you execute it? How well can you break the problem and approach the solution, right? So that's what it comes down to. So it's constant problem solving. So I think that is something that you learn when you are a part of E-Cell, because it gives you that platform and those events which you try to manage and try to understand how the business world works. And it's not just talk, right? It's not just like listening and like listening a good bunch of stuff or reading a book. It's actually implementing. So that really helps. So I think
Yeah.
that's one of the good things. It allows you to do that implementation in like a very safe environment. Like even if you fail, like what's to lose, right? And also explore. So like you get, even if you're not ready, if you don't have that stream of thought that okay, this is what exactly what I want to do, in business management or even entrepreneurship for that matter, you can explore. There are different things that you can do. Like social media is one of them. I think our like Srijan is doing amazing at social media. Like I saw the Instagram page and the way you guys, oh my god, you guys are amazing. And even this, like you're doing this and all the reach out that Srijan does, you guys are brilliant. So I mean that's industry standard. It's not as if like you're doing something on a very, this counts, right? So when you put it on a profile and you have this understanding of how to manage social media and how to manage the crowd, how to target the audience and all of that, it's pretty good, man. So all those skills, of course, conversations, you're working with teams and you're working with people. So it allows you to do that back and forth with people and understand where people stand and how you project your point. Yeah.
So according to what Srijanites feel is like Srijan is a place where you can convert and execute everything from a very basic level, that is from idea level. So I think that's a very best benefit I could say about Srijan.
Absolutely.
So put some light on like what are the things which you discovered or explored about yourself while working in your tenure, which were you were not aware of.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say pitching skills. I never thought that I know that I could go on the stage and speak, but that is very different than pitching or actually converting, right? So when we were in the final
Yes.
year, one of my tasks was to, like, the whole team was doing it. It was basically induction, making sure that everybody knows about E-Cell, making sure that new students get aware of it and they join it for the larger cause, right? So yeah, I was one of the speakers who was supposed to tell them about like in a similar process where I was telling about my experience, and I realized that I had that skill to pitch an idea to an audience, which is a good skill to have. So that was something. Also people skills, right? I was not the best at it, I would confess. Like sometimes I'm a pain in the, right? So yeah, that was a good thing to learn, understand how different mindsets work and how you can be accommodating at times.
So as same goes with me. Like before having this interview, I wasn't aware that I could interview people around. So I think this is also one of the best opportunity which I got from Susan as well.
Makes sense.
So like yeah, so we have very often heard about you that you were a perfectionist and focused on quality work, and perfectionists are sashable. Yeah, so like how do you attribute this quality of yours? Does it help you or like does it make bothered you in your team members or colleagues?
I mean, I would say, I know that's flattering, man, but I mean, I would simply say that I recognize with the aspect of driving to achieve details and pursue expertise as much as you can. I don't know if that traits to being a perfectionist or not. I don't really, I don't know, don't associate with that word itself. But yeah, I mean, small things matter. That's the idea. I
Yeah.
mean, if you go to intricate detail, you'll end up having a good product or whatever, a good launch. And people observe details. So small things absolutely matter. And the idea, yeah, as far as the work related question goes, yes, you have to have that balance. So there's this spectrum, right? On one side, there's
Yeah.
shoddy work, mediocrity, and on the other side, there's unrealistic expectations, right? So you have to find a balance so that
Exactly.
right, you can work with other people, because you have to make sure that you don't set expectations which are like you're not really going to meet. So you want to have realistic goals and you want to make sure that you achieve them, and yes, achieve them to as detail as possible. So that's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I get late with this because when we had a conversation rather this picture, can you please change the color of the poster as well? So I think I found this trait in you, like about being perfectional, specific to the things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just detail stuff. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't want to get in the trap of really want to be perfect all the time, because that's just putting yourself on a pedestal and you will eventually fall. Can't be perfect at everything or like even, one thing. It's just, yeah, try to do as best as you
Exactly.
can. Yeah.
So back at Gyrix TechnoLabs, like
Yeah.
how did you plan your journey from a very software as a software engineering intern, then to full stack software employee at Gyrix as well,
Hmm.
and then becoming a team lead?
Oh, right.
So like how do you plan your journey out there?
Right. So, I mean, it was definitely an incredible journey, something that I couldn't have even dreamt about. I definitely had a plan in mind, yes, but it was such a dreamlike experience that I couldn't plan it to the detail that it happened. It was incredible. And I'm very grateful for Gyrix for giving that platform. It was a lot of learnings very early on, a lot of incredible growth very early on. So I only planned my work, right? I tried to do my best, and I was very driven to be the best out there, so at least the best version of myself, right? So I tried to do that, and I think that's what
Yes,
resulted into all these opportunities coming my way. I approached it with the same aspect of doing some task that's given to you to as detailed as possible, and making sure that you deliver on time and to the absolute detail that is required. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, there's psychology among students, like, if they have placements, either they want to go into higher studies, either they want to become an entrepreneur, or either they want to pursue unconventional career. So,
Right.
like, they are, they think that, placement is a sort of backup option or like a security deposit for them. So, like, but you, as in case of yours, you withdraw from placement, from campus placements.
Yeah.
So, what was that reason or the courage or the confidence which you have to withdraw from placements?
Oh, I mean, I knew what I was going into, right? So I was, like I said, I was working with Gyrix for almost my final year all the time. So I knew that it was a place that I would love to work at, and thankfully, I had an offer from them, and I already had an idea that I was going to go for masters 2 years down the road, right? So I had a very good understanding with them, and I respected the kind of company, the way in which they were running the whole thing, and I saw that it was a good opportunity to cash in on. So because I already had an offer from them and I had to anyway prepare for my masters, I felt that it was a good idea to just focus on the GRE preparation and the larger skill set building at large. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
So when I've seen your profile, it seems very diverse. Like, so you have been into an entrepreneurship like at college as well, and you worked in a startup that was Gyrix back at initial stages, and then you pursue higher studies. So I think you have perspective seeing things in all the domains, like in higher studies, job profile, as well as entrepreneurship. So
Hmm.
like with this experience, like what is your thought of working in startup versus working in MNCs, and what would you suggest to our students out there?
Okay. Okay. I mean, that's a good question. I would say it's very company specific, to be honest. We shouldn't go with that. Like, we shouldn't box companies into being a startup or an MNC. Very,
Okay.
very. There are a lot of startups who work in a very MNC way. So
Yes.
there's no point in going. I mean, if you want to work for a startup, go at a startup which works like a startup, which is lean, which is rapid, and you get that kind of exposure. And there are a lot of MNCs which do very well in having small teams, and they have a very startup like culture. So you want to do company specific stuff, but as far as like the generalization goes, if we are on the same page regarding what startup means and MNC means,
Yes.
I would say that startup gives you that breadth of knowledge. So if you it depends on what you want to do with your career, right? Startup will definitely give you that breadth of knowledge. It will give you a lot of opportunities to grow, and of course a lot of platform. So that is a good thing to have on your resume if you have if you know a bunch of things. But at the same time, you also need depth. So maybe that might not happen at a startup, right? So you might want to work at an MNC if you're looking for more depth, probably more stability. If so, it depends on what you want from your career and which
Yeah.
phase of the career are you at. And I would say just try a few things, and read more about it, read more about the company. I think the culture really matters, right? This whole startup
Yes.
versus MNC thing is resonating from the culture aspect of it, of how a company
Yes.
is run, and how close proximity are you in with your leadership. If you really are working at a company where you get to do all those things, and where you can be vocal and do all that proactive stuff, why not, right? So I would
Yeah.
say, yeah, you have to weigh those options and balance it out. So startup, I would say more for like breadth of skills and more exposure. And MNCs, I would recommend if you want to work with experts and want to gain that kind of depth and maybe work on the same thing for 10 years. So I mean, of course, you become domain experts at it. Yeah.
So I think like both things have their particular cons as well as pros. But when you work with startup, you get time to analyze yourself and what skills you could provide to the organization. On the other hand, when you work with MNCs, it's like all the things are planned. You need to work accordingly and as per the schedules.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, that's a good summary of it. Yeah.
So if we ask you to summarize your experience with Srijan, what will you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was excellent. It was a lot of exposure, and it also had that factor of taking ideas to reality. So there were a few cases where we did very well. There were a few cases where we did not do well, and that was also a very good experience. So, like, jumping out of setbacks, how do you come back, and what do you do when something goes wrong? Do you take accountability about it, and like, what do you do next, basically? So when things go wrong, what do you do next? Do you still keep on trying and try to do something and give it back to the community? So yeah, I mean, it was a very good experience. All in all, it was wonderful, and it gave me a very good insight of working with people. Yeah.
I think Srijan gives you a facet of seeing things with differently, like to see the failures, see the challenges, see the good things as well.
Yep. Yep.
So at any point of time, do you feel that like Srijan helped you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So like all these skills that I'm talking about, right? It gives you that platform and gives you that opportunity to explore yourself and go out there and experiment. It's all
Yeah.
about trying a few things and learning from them. Do things that work for you. Do focus on your strengths. Figure out where you're kind of weak and don't let it affect you. I mean, of course, you can't change overnight. Get into that process of changing over time. Know what can be your weakness and what are your points where you're vulnerable. So that, I think, Srijan gives you a good idea of that. And then communicating. So when you're working with teams, you have that idea of how to balance yourself when you're talking to people.
Exactly.
Different people come to the table with different perspectives. So you want to know, how do you approach a conversation and how do you pitch ideas? So that, and of course, that confidence. So it gives you that confidence of, okay, this I've done in the past and I can do this. Correct? Because you have that experience of planning like an event from
Yeah.
front to end, and then when you execute it right really well, you understand that, okay, these are the things that went wrong and this is why I missed it. So that this whole cycle of executing something, going back, attaching the feedback loop, it gets embedded in your behavior, and that's very good when you're out there. So it's all about trials and errors and quick prototyping and understanding what works and what doesn't.
So I think analysis process after every event which we perform gives a different perspective of seeing things very differently.
Absolutely. Yep.
So moving to the ending part of this interview session. So what is your advice to our students out there?
I would say focus on adding value. I mean, that really works. If you add value and if you have skills that, are really the best, one of the best that are out there, like if you're one of the best people out there, you can leverage all of that. So try to gain expertise and try to add value as much as you can. When you add value to stuff, money, recognition, everything else follows, right? So try to add value as much as you can. Know your strengths, grow on it. Of course, stick to it, get focused, because like it's all about executing, right? So, and that only happens when you're disciplined. So try to set like a structure for yourself so that you can execute things on a daily basis. Yeah, you should have daily goals. I would really say that works for me. So I mean, on that front, I would say that of course you'll have to cut down on a few distractions if you want to go big. So like I don't use social media that much, so and that really helps me. My phone doesn't ping that much,
Yeah.
so that's good. I use WhatsApp a little bit because for personal communication, but like the other stuff I don't use as much. So you want to filter that time, see where that time is going, because you only have that limited time and energy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would highly recommend. Like that's worked for me. And don't be afraid to try new things. Of course, like keep trying. Like this E-Cell thing could have never happened for me if I was not open to try it. So keep trying. I think you would want to do the same, like your concrete stuff, your core every day, and then keep some time for doing new stuff. Keep exploring, keep growing. Don't be in that bubble. And at the end of the day, do good in the world, right? Give it back to the society, do something for the community, because it's all about where we go together. as a society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what are your closing remarks about Acropolis?
Oh, a big thank you, like a big thank you for this incredible experience that I've had. Like every aspect of it, like my department, all the faculties. We sadly lost a very important pillar a few days ago, Dr. Sanjay Bansal. He was such an incredible man, very loving, very passionate. He did a
Yes,
lot for the school. So I'm sure that he's proud of us wherever he is. And yeah, so and a big thank you to, of course, E-Cell and Srijan and Anupama ma'am and Atul sir for believing in me, working with me. And so a big thank you, and I would love to stay in touch and yeah, make an impact together.
definitely. So, moving out on a rapid fire questions. So,
Right.
the first rapid fire question is one word for Srijan.
Adventure.
Cool. The one challenge that you remember during your ESL tenure.
EVIC 2016, when we were on the stage collecting that trophy, that moment is embedded, is etched. Yeah.
One feeling for entrepreneurship.
Ah, um, change, facilitating change all the time.
Exactly. Best memory of Srijan.
Like I would again say EVIC 2016. Yeah, that was one memory in itself, and seeing your ideas into execution. So I remember fortifying SVMU was happening, and there were all these experts from the industry were there mentoring students one on one, and I almost felt weak in the knees. It was a very good experience to see that live. Yeah.
That sounds really interesting. One important learning being the part of Srijan.
um know that different people come to the table with a different perspective, like I said, and you have to be sure that you facilitate everybody, and make sure that you don't offend people. Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to our audience question, we have question from Neil Chetana. He's asked, "What is the most important thing you have learned? What was your life like before learning it, and what was your life after learning it like?"
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we kind of touched upon it. So that was the idea that when you are working more with technology and when you're focused a lot on yourself, you tend to become a little self-indulgent, right? So you want to be more open. So I was definitely open, but then I did not understand how important it was, correct? And the importance of networking. Those two things, very important. I did not give it as much attribution that I do now after having been in E-Cell and seeing the kind of things that the E-Cell students are doing, and the kind of value that it has added. So yes, doing different things and networking heavily.
So yes, I also think like networking is one of the very key factor in every domain. Like you build networks, you connect people. That exactly broadens your horizon.
Right.
So moving out to next question, we have question from Abhijit Mishra. He says, "Do you believe that there is some sort of pattern or formula to become a successful entrepreneur?"
Mm, I wouldn't say formula. It won't work. Like the same things don't work for everybody, sure. But there's definitely a pattern. Definitely a pattern. There are a bunch of things that you can do, and it works out for. I mean, it works out for most people. So yeah, like I was talking about, right? Setting daily goals,
Yeah,
setting a dream. It starts with a dream. Setting daily goals. From that, doing the execution part of it right, and then having the confidence to go out there and try it. So like that's a whole different discussion in itself, but there's definitely a pattern, and there are a lot of books available out there that you can try and gain those skills.
okay. Moving on to next question from Tax Porwal. He asked, "How did you manage your internship academics in Srijan?"
Internship. Oh, okay, so this is more like my final year, right? So one of the good things that happens is when you're in the final year and when you already have a job with you, you are a little bit more free, right? So that time window opened up. So that is where E-Cell could fit in. And internship, because I was doing it part time in the end, so I was full time only for some time, which was somewhere around 3 to 5 months. After that, it was part time. So part time was manageable, right? 19 hours or maybe a couple of days. So and that allowed me to be in touch with the team. So that was more like a part time role. So I feel that it was easily manageable. I mean, nothing extreme.
So moving to our last question for this session,
Mhm.
Shreya Sharma asked that like about your journey, the way it has been. Was it planned or everything was unexpectedly happened?
No, no, no. I mean, again, like there's a balance, guys. Come on. I mean, it can't be planned to the intricate detail that it is, and it can't be as unexpected, right? Of course, I tried a few things. I knew what I was getting into. Like I said, that first 2 years was pretty. I mean, I was very sure that I will not change that, or at least 3 years actually. I joined Srijan at the very end of second year, very middle of third year. So I mean, I would say that the whole journey has some sort of plan to it. It keeps changing over time, and you have to facilitate that. But you absolutely, you need to plan, right? Because changes will happen, the universe will get in the way, but you need to have at least some structure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how we came to end of this session. So Shreyas is that planned, or I should say, a scheduled engineer who thinks adding values to your career or to your life is very important aspect. And I think when technical aspects as well as non-technical skills amalgamate together, it makes an individual a perfect and diverse to step in any of the field. So thank you so much for your time from your busy schedule. Thank you so much for being part of this interview session.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarthak, Nishant. I mean, all of the guys at Srijan who managed to do this. It was wonderful. It was very good to get back in touch. I hope that we added some value. And
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, this was very good. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And yeah, let's connect back again sometime in the future.
Definitely, sure.
Perfect.
So if you have any queries, you can comment below, and stay tuned to hear some more stories, some more interesting stories of graduates of Acropolis who were the part of Srijan. And if you like this video, hit that like button. You can comment and share this video with your friends and colleagues. And to keep you notified, subscribe. Click on that subscribe button and press the bell icon. Thank you.